Woodland Hills, California, January 1966. Morning light slips through thin curtains. The house is quiet. In a small bedroom, a man lies still beneath white sheets. An oxygen tank hums softly beside the bed. On the nightstand, a pair of glasses, a glass of water. A life lived at full speed, now moving slowly. He doesn't know he's dying. The doctors do. Lung cancer, advanced. There isn't much time left, but they've chosen not to tell him everything. Maybe to protect him, maybe because they know something we don't. Because the man in that bed is still making jokes. A friend asks how he's feeling. He looks up, that same flat expression he wore for 50 years, and says, "Well, I'm still here. That's something, isn't it?" That's Buster Keaton, the man who never smiled. To understand that winter morning, we have to go all the way back, to Kansas, to 1895, to a baby who learned how to fall before he learned how to walk. He was born Joseph Frank Keaton on October 4th, 1895, in Piqua, Kansas. His parents were vaudeville performers. Life for them meant trains, cheap boarding houses, loud theaters, and constant motion. No backyard, no normal childhood, just stage lights and applause. The nickname Buster came from the legendary escape artist Harry Houdini, who supposedly saw the baby tumble down a flight of stairs without crying and said that was a real Buster. The name stuck, and so did the falling. By the age of 3, Buster was on stage with his parents in an act called The Three Keatons. And when we say on stage, we mean being thrown across it. His father would grab him and hurl him into the scenery, drag him across the floor, toss him into the wings. It sounds shocking now, but this wasn't cruelty, it was choreography, precision, physics. Buster learned how to land without getting hurt, how to relax his body mid-air, how to turn impact into comedy. And he learned one more thing: never show pain. If you show pain, the audience feels sorry for you. If you don't, they laugh. That tiny shift turns tragedy into comedy. So he stopped smiling, completely. A blank face, calm, watching, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. That face would become one of the most famous faces in film history. In 1917, at 21 years old, Buster met a man who changed his life, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. Arbuckle was one of the biggest comedy stars in America. He introduced Buster to motion pictures. On the first day on set, Buster picked up a movie camera, took it apart, studied it, and put it back together. That tells you everything. He didn't just want to act, he wanted to understand how film worked. Within months, he was co-starring in short silent comedies, and something was different about him. Other comedians performed at the camera. Buster performed with the camera. He understood framing, timing, editing. He could build a joke that only worked because of how it was filmed. By 1920, he was directing his own films. What followed was one of the most extraordinary creative runs in cinema history. Short films like 1 Week and Cops, Features like The Navigator, Sherlock Jr., Steamboat Bill Jr., and The General. He did his own stunts, all of them. No doubles, no tricks. If you see him hanging from a building, he's hanging. If a train is moving, he's on it. In Sherlock Jr., he dives through a movie screen into a dream world where the background keeps changing around him. The scene is still studied today by filmmakers trying to figure out how he pulled it off in 1924. During one stunt involving a water tower, he was knocked to the ground by a powerful stream of water. He finished the scene. Years later, an X-ray revealed he had broken his neck that day. He didn't even know. That's not bravery in the loud, heroic way. It's something quieter, almost stubborn, like his body was just another tool for the joke. Then came one of the most famous stunts ever filmed. In Steamboat Bill Jr., the front wall of an entire house, 2 stories tall, weighing tons, falls forward directly onto him. There's a single open window in the wall. If he's standing even a few inches off his mark, he dies. The house falls. The window passes over him perfectly. He stands there, untouched, dust settling around him. No smile. Just a small blink. That shot was done in one take. It had to be. You watch it today and your stomach tightens, even though you know he survives. That's the power of it. And then there's The General. Set during the American Civil War, it follows a train engineer chasing his stolen locomotive behind enemy lines. It's epic in scale. Real trains, real bridges, real explosions. For one scene, he sent an actual locomotive crashing off a burning bridge into a river. It was the most expensive shot in silent film history at the time. When it was released in 1926, audiences didn't fully embrace it. Critics were unsure. It made less money than expected. Years later, it would be called one of the greatest films ever made. Sometimes genius arrives too early. In 1928, Buster signed a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. He would later call it the worst decision of his life. At MGM, he lost control. He was given scripts he didn't write, directors who didn't understand his style. He wasn't allowed to improvise freely. He wasn't allowed to control the editing the way he used to. Imagine taking a master painter and telling him what colors to use. His marriage to Natalie Talmadge was falling apart at the same time. They grew distant, eventually divorced. He lost much of his money. For a while, he lost regular contact with his sons, and he started drinking heavily. The man who once commanded massive film sets was now doing small roles, bit parts, anything to keep working. By his mid-40s, he felt like a relic from another era. There's something heartbreaking about that. To be a genius and then watch the world move on. In 1935, after a breakdown tied to alcoholism, he was briefly hospitalized. For many, that would have been the end of the story, but not for Buster. In 1940, he married Eleanor Norris. She was much younger. She adored him, truly adored him, not the legend, the man. Friends later said she saved him, not by dramatic speeches, just by being steady, supportive, kind. Slowly, he rebuilt. Television arrived in the 1950s, and suddenly there was space for him again. A new generation discovered his silent films. Film students screened The General and Sherlock Jr. in classrooms and small theaters. They didn't see an outdated performer. They saw a master. In 1959, he received an honorary Academy Award for his contribution to cinema. When he walked on stage, the audience gave him a long, standing ovation. For a moment, it looked like he might smile. Almost. He kept working into his 70s, even appeared in a short film directed by Samuel Beckett. He was curious until the end, always curious. And then we returned to that bedroom in Woodland Hills, January 1966. He watches television, plays cards, talks about a new comedy idea he wants to film in the spring, a simple gag with a folding chair. There won't be a spring for him. On February 1st, 1966, Buster Keaton died in his sleep at home. He was 70 years old. Eleanor was beside him. No dramatic final words, no spotlight, just quiet. For the first time in his life, he stopped falling. And here's the strange thing. The man who never smiled made millions of people laugh. Not with loud jokes or exaggerated faces, but with precision, with courage, with a kind of honesty that said, life will knock you down, so get up, don't complain, try again. When you watch him today, standing calmly as
the house collapses around him, it doesn't feel old, it feels human. Because we're all trying to stand in the right spot while the world falls down around us.